Hello students, you're welcome to today's class. My name is Adebanke and we'll be going through IGCSE Biology questions. So let's get started. Question 1. Which organelle is responsible for packaging and secretion of proteins? A. Mitochondrion, B. Golgi apparatus, C. Ribosome, D. Lysosome. Which organelle is responsible for packaging and also for protein secretion? We look at mitochondria is mainly for generation of power, that's ATP. So Golgi apparatus is responsible for packaging and secretion of protein, while ribosome is involved in protein synthesis and lysosome digests enzymes. So the correct answer is Golgi apparatus, option B. Question 2. Which of the following structures is present in plant cells but absent in animal cells? A. Chloroplast, B. Ribosome, C. Mitochondrion, D. Rough endoplasmic reticulum. So which of these is present only in plant cell? So the correct answer is chloroplast. Chloroplast is present in plant cell and is involved in photosynthesis. So while others are present in both plant cell and animal cell. So chloroplast is the right answer, option A. Question 3. In electron microscopy, the main advantage over light microscopy is A. Ability to see living cells, B. Greater resolution, C. Lower cost, D. Easier sample preparation. So the question is asking why electron microscopy has greater advantage over light microscopy. Now, a microscope is used to observe very tiny objects. It magnifies tiny objects to enhance visibility. So for electron microscopy is better than, it has more advantage over light microscopy because it can be able to pick very tiny objects compared to light microscopy. So that results in it having a greater resolution, ability to pick a very tiny object, up to nano objects, very, very tiny. So that makes greater resolution the correct answer, option B. Question 4. Which cell regulates the entry and exit of materials? A. Cytoplasm, B. Nucleus, C. Cell wall, D. Cell membrane. So which of these listed in this option regulates the inflow and outflow of material? That's cell membrane. Cell membrane is also known as, for this to happen, to regulate inflow and outflow, that means nothing can just really enter the cell and nothing can easily flow out from the cell. So this is made possible by cell membrane. It's known as selectively permeable membrane. It serves as a barrier that is responsible for inflow and outflow of material. So regulating it, so that it serves as a barrier. So that makes cell membrane, option D, the correct answer. Question 5. Which process requires energy? A. Diffusion, B. Osmosis, C. Active transport, D. Facilitated diffusion. So which of these processes requires ATP? Is it diffusion, movement from higher concentration to lower concentration? B. Osmosis, that's from lower concentration to higher, does not require ATP energy. C. Active transport. So just imagine you trying to push something up, maybe a hill or something high. So energy is involved to push across the gradients. So across the hill, energy is involved, and facilitated diffusion really does not require ATP. So the correct answer is active transport, option C. Question 6. In osmosis, water moves. So what is osmosis? Osmosis is the movement of water concentration from no is the movement of water from the region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. Just imagine you having like a yam in a sugar solution. So the yam serve as the semi-permeable membrane, so the yam tissue. So the water moves into the yam from lower to higher concentration. So looking at the options, option A, from low solute concentration to high solute concentration. Option B, from high solute concentration to low solute concentration. Option C, against concentration gradient. Option D, with no concentration difference. So the correct answer here is osmosis move from low solute concentration to higher solute concentration. Option A. Question 7. A red blood cell placed in distilled water will, if you have a red blood cell in distilled water, so what will happen? Option A, shrink. B, burst. C, remain unchanged. D, divide. So imagine having a red blood cell in a distilled water. What happens is that water flows into the cell and the cell becomes swollen and eventually burst. So the correct answer is option B, burst. Question 8. The uptake of mineral ions against a concentration gradient in plant roots occurs by option A, osmosis, B, diffusion, C, active transport, D, filtration. So imagine a plant trying to draw nutrients, roots drawing nutrients from the soil. So it will require energy. Energy is involved in against the concentration gradient, trying to pull nutrients up to the plants. So and in that aspect, like I said earlier, it's only happens during active transport. So active transport is required, is used in the uptake of mineral ions against a concentration gradient in plant roots. So it is not diffusion, not osmosis, and not filtration. The correct answer is option C, active transport. Question 9. Enzymes are made of A, carbohydrates, B, proteins, C, lipids, D, nucleic acid. So what are enzymes? Enzymes are catalysts. I mean, they speed up a chemical reaction. They make it faster. So what are they made up of? What are they made up of? Enzymes are made up of proteins. Most enzymes are proteins, but not all enzymes are proteins. For example, we have ribozymes. They are not proteins. So no, they are not. Not all enzymes are proteins. Yes, example ribozymes. So the correct answer is most enzymes are made up of proteins. So option B is the correct answer. 10. Which factor does not affect enzyme activity? A, pH, B, substrate concentration, C, temperature, D, color of solution. So which of these listed in the options does not increase the rate of reaction? So we have A, pH does not, pH affects the rate of reaction, that's the alkalinity or acidity of a substrate will affect. Then substrate concentration, so increase in substrate concentration will increase the rate of reaction. Likewise, temperature, increase in temperature will increase, though there will be more collisions leading to faster movement of molecules, increasing the rate of reaction. So the only option here that doesn't affect enzyme activity is color of solution, option D. The next question, 11. The enzyme amylase breaks down. So what is enzyme amylase? Amylase is an enzyme. It is present in the saliva. And this amylase is responsible for breaking down, for hydrolyzing, that means to break down carbohydrates, that's complex molecule, into simple sugar forms. So you have a long chain. Carbohydrate is a complex molecule. So the glucose is or is simpler. Just to break complex, break something that is big and into something that is smaller, into smaller units. So option A, protein to amino acid. That's not the function of amylase, that's the function of proteases. B, starch to maltose. C, lipids to fatty acid. D, DNA to nucleotide. So the function of amylase is to break down starch to maltose. Option B is the correct answer. Question 12. The region of an enzyme where the substrate binds is called A. We have active site. B. Binding pocket. C. Reaction zone. D. Catalyst site. So the region where enzyme binds to substrate or where substrate binds to enzyme, that region is known as active site. The correct answer is A, option A. Question 13. Which nutrient is mainly absorbed in the ileum? Ileum is part of small intestine, so it's mainly absorbed nutrients like amino acid, fatty acid. So which nutrient is mainly absorbed in the ileum? A, starch. B, amino acid. C, water. D, fiber. So the correct answer is amino acid, option B. Question 14. Which vitamin prevents rickets? So what is rickets? Rickets is a disease is that affects mostly children. So it results in like children having soft bones, not strong bones, low muscle tone. You know. So it has to do with like low soft bone formation. So that's what it is as a result of lack of getting enough vitamin from the sunlight, and also dietary factors too can come into play. So let's see which vitamin prevents rickets. Option A, vitamin A is necessary for vision, very important. Vitamin B is important for red blood cell, production of red blood cell. Vitamin C helps to boost the immune system. While vitamin D is synthesized from sun, it can be gotten from direct sunlight, that's early morning sunlight, and it helps calcium to be properly absorbed into the body, leading to strong bone formation. So, which vitamin prevents rickets? So, we can see that vitamin D will prevent having soft bones in children. So, vitamin D is the correct answer. Question 15. Which chamber of the heart pumps blood to the lungs? A. Left atrium. B. Right atrium. C. Left ventricle. D. Right ventricle. So the chamber that is involved in pumping deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs is known as right ventricle. Option D. Question 16. Which blood vessel carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart? A. Pulmonary artery. B. Pulmonary vein. C. Aorta. D. Vena cava. So the blood vessel that is involved in carrying oxygenated blood from the lungs then to the heart is known as pulmonary vein, while pulmonary artery carries the oxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs. But the right answer to this question is pulmonary artery, which is involved in carrying oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. Option A. Question 17. Which ion is essential for formation of chlorophyll? No, chlorophyll determines leaf pigments. It's found in leaf pigments, that green pigments. So that's the presence of chlorophyll. But Okay, let's look at the option first. Which ion is essential for the formation of chlorophyll? Option A, magnesium, B, calcium, C, potassium, D, nitrate. So, like I said earlier, chlorophyll determines that green pigment is found in leaf. So, it determines green pigments in leaf. But in older plants, when you see some plants, their leaves are already turning yellow, that shows deficiency in magnesium. So the correct answer here is magnesium. Magnesium is essential for the formation of chlorophyll. Option A. Question 18. The transport of water in plants takes place through A. Phloem, B. Xylem, C. Cambium, D. Cortex. The transport of water in plants that takes place through xylem. Option B. Phloem is responsible for transporting food from the leaf to the rest of the plant, while xylem is responsible for transporting water from the root to the rest of the plant. So the correct answer is option B, xylem. Question 19. Which product of photosynthesis is used for energy in respiration? A. Oxygen, B. Water, C. Glucose, D. Carbon dioxide. Looking at the starting material of photosynthesis, that's CO2, water in presence of sunlight, produces glucose and oxygen. So those are the products. But the products that is mainly used for ATP, for energy in respiration, is glucose. Because when glucose is broken down, it generates ATP, energy. So, and that is used in respiration. So option C is the correct answer. 20. Which experiments demonstrate oxygen release during photosynthesis? A. Starch testing leaves. B. Using water plants with bubbles. C. Measuring dry mass of plants. D. Chlorophyll chromatography. So to demonstrate or to perform an experiment to know whether oxygen is released during photosynthesis, all you need to do is get a water plant in a water bowl and place it under direct sunlight. You will see some bubbles in the water. This shows that oxygen is being released. So that makes option B, using water plants with bubbles. So this experiment shows when oxygen is released during photosynthesis. Option B is the correct answer. 21. Which is the main waste product of respiration? A. Carbon dioxide, B. Oxygen, C. Urea, D. Starch. The main waste product of respiration, what is being exhaled out of respiration, is CO2, carbon dioxide. Option A is the correct answer. 22. Anaerobic respiration in yeast produces A. Lactic acid, B. Ethanol plus carbon dioxide, C. Glucose, D. Oxygen. So during yeast um, production, so the anaerobic respiration in yeast produces, the final product is ethanol and CO2. That's the final product. That makes option B the correct answer. Question 23. The functional unit of the kidney is the glomerulus. A. B. Nephron. C. Bowman's capsule. D. Tubule. The functional unit of the kidney is known as the nephron, and the nephron contains the glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, and tubule. So option B is the correct answer, nephron. Question 24. Which part of the nephron is responsible for ultrafiltration? A. Loop of Henle, B. Collecting duct, C. Bowman's capsule, D. Distal tubule. So which part of the nephron is responsible for ultrafiltration? The right answer is Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule is responsible, plays a vital role for in ultrafiltration. Option C is the correct answer. 25. Which part of the eye controls the amount of light entering? So which part of the eyes? A. Retina. B. Lens. C. Pupil. D. Iris. So which part of the eyes control or regulates the amount of light that enters the eyes? For pupil, light enters through an opening of the pupil, but the part that actually regulates the amount of light is known as the iris. Option D. 26. The functional unit of the nervous system is the A. Brain. B. Neuron. C. Spinal cord. D. Synapse. So the functional unit of the nervous system is known as the neuron. So it's involved in response and stimuli. So B. Option B, neuron. Question 27. Which hormone regulates blood glucose concentration? A. Adrenaline. B. Insulin. C. Tyrosine. D. Testosterone. So which hormone regulates the amount of sugar in the body? That is insulin. Insulin helps to, once you consume starch or you consume sugar, so the insulin converts the sugar into glycogen that is stored in the body. So it regulates the amount of sugar in the body. So that's insulin, option B. Question 28. Which response is involuntary and rapid? A. Reflex action. B. Conscious action. C. Conditioned response. D. Voluntary movement. So which response is involuntary? That means it is unplanned, and rapid, fast. So the correct answer is reflex action. So sometimes maybe when you sneeze, it's unplanned, you didn't plan it. So it's known as reflex action, option A. Question 29. In plants, fertilization occurs in the A. Anther. B. Ovo. C. Stigma. D. Petal. So fertilization mainly occurs in the ovo, option B. Question 30. Which of the following is an example of asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction means just one parent is involved in the process of the reproduction and to form identical offspring. So A. Fertilization in maize. B. Binary fission in amoeba. C. Pollination in flowers. D. Conjugation in bacteria. So the only option that is an example of asexual reproduction is binary fission. That's the fission in binary fission in amoeba. This is asexual, while the rest are sexual reproduction. Option B is the right answer. Question 31. What is the sex chromosome of human male? A. XX. B. XY. C. YY. D. XO. So the sex chromosome of a human male is XY, while the for XX is female chromosome. So option B is the correct answer. XY is the sex chromosome of a human male. Question 32. Which genetic cross will always produce heterozygous offspring? Heterozygous offspring, that means you have two, there are two different, we have the recessive and the dominant one. So we have which genetic cross will always produce heterozygous offspring? That's in that when offspring inherit two different variants from their parents. So we have TT, this one will produce homozygous, they will all be tall, but this one, some we have homozygous, that means when you cross it, you have TT, and you also have some that are heterozygous. But the question is asking which one will produce all heterozygous. For this, if you look at TT, when you cross it from the just normal crossing, you'll see that you have something like this. You have the your you have this result t t t t t t like capital T small t. No, let's say this indicates tall, this indicates short. So these are heterozygous. That means two different variants from the parents. The offspring can, if this one is dominant, this is recessive. So this is um, an example producing heterozygous offspring. So that means option C is the correct answer. Question 33. Which is a producer in a food chain? In a food chain, we have the producer. So, well, that's the manufacturer, and the autotrophs, heterotrophs, and the rest. So, which is a producer in a food chain? That means manufacturer, they are autotrophs. That means the example of autotrophs are plants, right? So, A, goat, B, maize, C, lion, D, human. So an example of an autotroph here is a plant, and this maize is an example of a plant. Option B is the correct answer. Question 34. Which gas contributes to global warming? A, oxygen, B, carbon dioxide, C, nitrogen, D, argon. Which gas contributes to global warming? That means, there's too much of heat, and this can lead to greenhouse effects, whereby the earth absorb a lot of heat from the atmosphere. So which gas can contribute to this effect? The correct answer is carbon dioxide. That means if there's too much of burning of fossils, burning of fuels, it can lead to generation of a lot of CO2, and excessive CO2 in the atmosphere can cause global warming. So the correct answer is carbon dioxide. Question 35. Which tool is used to estimate population of grass in a field? So which tool? A, quadrat, B, light meter, C, pitfall trap, D, sweep net. So the only tool that can be used to estimate the population of grass rather in a field is known as quadrats. It's like a frame. So it's used to calculate the population of grass in a field. Option A, quadrat, is the correct answer. Question 36. Which cycle involves conversion of nitrogen gas to nitrates? A, carbon cycle, B, nitrogen cycle, C, oxygen cycle, D, water cycle. So if you look at the question, read the question, which cycle involves conversion of nitrogen gas to nitrate? It's very straightforward. You see nitrogen, so the answer is nitrogen cycle. So nitrogen cycle is involved in converting the nitrogen gas to nitrates that can be easily absorbed by plants. So the correct answer is nitrogen cycle. Option B. 37. Which human activity causes eutrophication in water bodies? A, deforestation, B, application of fertilizer, C, overgrazing, D, oil drilling. So which human activity causes eutrophication? Eutrophication means there's too much of nutrients, or a water body is polluted. If there's too much of, let me just say, too much of nutrients in the water, and it has led to formation of algae, all these green algae on water bodies. And once this algae covers the water, there will be reduction, low oxygen in the water. And it can, if there's low oxygen in the water, the living organism in the water will not be able to, like, take in oxygen, and it can cause death of the living organism. So which human activity causes, so what do humans do that leads to formation of this green algae leading to low oxygen in water, resulting in death of living organisms. So what do human beings do to actually cause that? So that's A, deforestation, cutting of trees, B, application of fertilizer. This is the correct answer, because when too much of nutrients of fertilizer is in water body, it can lead to this formation of algae and leading to um, low oxygen in water. So the correct answer is B, application of fertilizers. Question 38. Which of the following is non-renewable source? A, solar energy. B, wind energy. C, coal. D, timber. It's a non-renewable. That means it cannot be renewed. It's just as simple as that. We have renewable, can be renewed, can be replenished if when exhausted. But non-renewable, it cannot be easily gotten like that when is exhausted. So A, solar is renewable. It's energy that is gotten from sun. Sun is there to provide that energy. Then wind energy is renewable. Timber too is renewable. It can easily be gotten. But for coal is not renewable. It's not is a non-renewable source. So the answer is C, coal. Question 39. Which type of relationship exists between tapeworm and man? So even tapeworm and man, they have some kind of relationship. So, but what kind of relationship actually? So we have different kinds of relationship. We have mutualism, that means both parties are benefiting from each other. We have commensalism, one is benefiting while the other is not benefiting, but well, it's not causing any harm to the other party. But parasitism, one is benefiting while the other party is suffering. Then the saprophytism, that means animals feeding on dead organic matter. So in this case, the relationship between tapeworm and man is parasitic because one tends to take in the nutrients man is and the nutrients that are supposed to nourish man, so the tapeworm will be taking it while man is being harmed, is not taking those nutrients, is being deprived of those nutrients, leading to deficiency, and it can lead to like poor weight gain, weight loss. So the correct answer is parasitism, option C. Question 40. Which of the following contributes directly to the greenhouse effect? Greenhouse effect: A, nitrogen oxide, B, methane, C, ozone layer, D, water vapor. So greenhouse effect, leads to global warming, leads to Earth trapping a lot of heat from the atmosphere, leading to climatic change and the rest. So the gas that contributes directly to these effects, to greenhouse effects, is methane, option B. That is the correct answer. And now we have come to the end of today's class. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. And see you in the next class.
Hi, I'm sure you enjoyed the content you just watched. To see more episodes as that, preparing you for your oncoming exams, smash the subscribe button on this channel right now and visit the playlist that we've made for you, covering over 50 type of different exams, including JAMB, WAEC, Kakao,